All right, welcome back to the PMR podcast. My name is Mitch. I'm an alcoholic addict. This is episode 17.
What's up, you guys? I'm Andrew. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. Thank you guys for coming back. I'm excited to talk about holidays and family and boundaries and everything else that comes with this time of year. But I think we did something really special last week. I've been thinking about it a lot. I've been playing it kind of over in my head, and it was really really cool to have Dan on. Just telling his story. I want to do more of that. It's almost like you said at the end of that episode, I want to get him back on soon because I feel like you said, he's got so much more to say. He told a lot of his story, got into like the nitty gritty with his past. But he's so humble that you kind of forget where you are, right? Like it's one of those things where like you can't see the progress you're making, but other people can see it just fine.
Yeah.
And some of the things I've seen him do, like he's in hospitals, like doing interventions with people who come in, um, who've overdosed or their liver failures and kind of in dire medical straits. And he's the way that his life has, I'm not going to say 180'd because, his life isn't perfect and nobody's life is perfect, but the way he's changed the trajectory of his life, he won't go out and say it, so I'm going to go out and say it. He's a true power of example for me. And that was really special to share that like connection I have with him with you. Because as I've been on this like journey of sobriety and recovery, right? I've just met like some of the most special people. And you and him are really one of the, two of those, extremely, extremely special people to me. And to like have worlds collide like that was wicked cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, what did you think? I mean, I've been thinking about it all week.
Yeah, me too. And I've listened to that episode a couple times more than a lot of the other ones, only because like his story was so I related to a lot of it and it was so impactful. And like, thank you for getting us in touch and bringing it and like making that connection for us to meet in that way. He Yeah, I mean, I think Steve-O commented like he's a natural podcaster. Like he really was. He kind of just ripped it and he was comfortable. And you know, I always get a little nervous about bringing other people. And even when I was talking with you initially, and for my own self, like when we put ourselves out there like this, it does offer that like potential of like pressure or nervousness or judgment
Mm.
in a way to your recovery and to yourself. And so I'm always extremely appreciative of you and for other addicts and alcoholics like him to come on and talk because that takes a lot of like courage and being true to yourself. Like he spoke from his heart. He spoke honestly, told his story, um, and really, I mean, that's all that's all that we're looking for, just honesty about it. And if anyone can listen and like as I did and be like, oh, I know I've done something like that or
Mm.
I can relate to that, boom, job done. So
When I look back at the video, like I'm watching us bobbing our heads, like nodding, like some
whole
fucking
time.
bobbleheads, like.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
that's like how you know it's a good speaker because he was. I mean, everything he was saying was so like pertinent to my own experience. I think you could say the same for yours. Um, just to see just to see him speak, and again, like being in treatment with him in the beginning, it is like it's a fucking miracle that him and I, we wouldn't we. I don't even think a few months ago that him and I would want to take any time out of our day to go and like put something together where we expose our faults, expose like our active addiction and put it out to the world. I think we would have both like laughed in your face and said, "What are you talking about?" Um, so he expressed that to me, and again, like we're both just so thankful that like this opportunity has come up. Like, I don't know, I was just doing a little remember when in my head from like talking to you for the first couple times. Like, shout out Zoe for putting us together. But like we're 17 weeks into this thing. Like, if you think about it, that's what is that? Over 3 months?
Yeah, like 4 months ish. Yeah.
That's like almost. I mean, we're getting close to half a year.
Well, I
Like,
think yeah, it'll be 4 months in a week, which is nuts. We're not even at half a year, bro. It's crazy.
and and thinking back to like that first conversation I had with you, um, I was in Minnesota and I was just on the phone with you and we were both kind of just feeling each other out, like, who is this fucking guy? Like, but it was, I don't know, like looking back on it now, I'm just like, damn, like I'm a lucky dude. I can call you like we're kind of getting into remember when. I promise we have a real episode today. But like I can call you with whatever. Like I've never even dapped you up. Like nothing. And I could call you with whatever. I can tell you whatever and I know that you're there for me. And that's fucking crazy. That's just like that's kind of the power of shared experience, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree, bro. I've been, obviously I've been leaning on you crazy the last like 2 weeks, just going through some life shit that I needed to talk to someone else that can relate. And I can't thank you enough for that in general. It's crazy how like homies we are and we haven't met, but it's like, yeah, I don't know, it's been extremely helpful to me and impactful. And I feel very blessed to have you in my life in that way. Um,
And the
it's been
crazy
wild.
thing is, dude, is like you say, like you've been going through some life shit, which you have. Um, you have, I mean, and this is like a AA taboo, but I believe it now. Like it's like every one of those stupid ass signs on the wall that I used to look at and be like, what is this? What does this mean? Easy does it. Like that's horse crap. Like each one of them starts to come true a little bit. And that
It's
shared
true.
experience, like you telling me what you're going through and me almost like I almost get a sigh of relief sometimes because I'm like, damn, bro, like somebody else feels this way too. That's amazing. Like
Yeah.
I'm not alone. And that's I don't know. That's just it almost leaves me at a loss for words. But yeah, bro. Anyway, you know, timing wise, right? We're kind of smack dab in the middle of Thanksgiving was a couple weeks ago. We got Christmas coming up in a couple weeks, New
Holiday
Year's
season.
after that. Um, it's the holidays and I was kind of talking with you earlier this week and you know, the holidays can be kind of, extremely difficult for people like us. I think not necessarily 100% all the time with my family, but certainly we have events like it. A lot of families get together and everything revolves around drinking. Um, I think simply the fact that like everybody seems to be happier and joyous and they're getting together and we're doing all these festivities and everybody is back in town, maybe like, me living in my hometown, people coming back from wherever they live and getting together and going to the bars. Like it's just there's a lot going on. It's a very volatile season for a person like me. Um and I think in my short experience in recovery, I think it's kind of proven to be like that for a lot of us. And so I don't know. I just wanted to kind of talk about that today. Like, you know, what did it used to look like, in active use, and what did it, and how? Because for me, like the holidays were sad, dude. Like when I was using, because I almost felt like I had a microscope over me. Like, I had a bunch of family in town, and all of a sudden I was required to like, we got to go to church and we're going to go to family dinners and we're going to dinner at this aunt's house and at this uncle's house for New Year's um and I just felt like, in my disease I just wanted to be alone. Like I was like I hate how happy and all the warmth and the gushy love shit between the family like I just couldn't feel that. Um, and it was such a hard season for me. And it felt like that, you know, this month and a half ish, like I was just kind of dragged on and on. Like week after week, it was like, all right, what do I have to do this week? Like, what family member do I have to lie to and say that I'm doing okay? Or like whose house am I gonna have to like sneak away from? Like, after being there for 30 minutes and breaking out in cold sweats. Like eh, and I'm grateful for a lot of reasons because it doesn't really have to be like that anymore, but it's still not, it's not easy. Like the holidays still like it almost maybe bringing up those memories or whatever it may be. Um, it's just a tough season, and it was such a tough season when we were using, man.
Yeah, it's I completely agree. It's like a 2 month window of like, God damn it. I like when I um I guess to like set the scene, I was born with my family is just my mother and I, my direct family. No brothers and sisters except for some half brothers and sisters that I didn't know until much later. And I think that my mom like went hard as fuck to get me to go to these like nice private schools. Uh at least for middle school and high school. And I like we jumped around schools and shit like that, but we were kind of like it was kind of like I was barely at that school, but everyone else that was there was like normally at that school, if that makes sense. Like they were chilling
Hmm.
at that school, like that's where they had like mad money. And so I think I did very early on. I would look at your family, I look at my family, and be like, oh, you have a mom and a dad, and you have a brother and a sister, and you have this and you have that, and then go home and be like, I don't have that, you know. And I did a lot of comparing early, and the way I compartmentalized that was like, especially getting into high school and shit. Um, I started gaining resentment towards my family, my mother, my conditions, because look at how happy they are on Instagram, and like look how happy, when everyone came back to school after break with all their new shit. I'll be like, damn, I didn't get that. You know what I mean? And started that's where the early resentment towards those holidays came. Really before the drugs and alcohol was comparing. And then I think as I got older and started doing the drugs and alcohol, then I was like, I hate this shit. Like I don't want to do it. And then I mean, uh, it's just like that continuation of feeling other.
Mm,
And my family doesn't
mm.
look like your family. Mine must be worse. And I like really lived into that, bro. Like to my own detriment. It was really just like self inflicted pain. And I think the holidays, even in recovery for me, have been weird. Well, I mean, like one of my worst ones before I went to rehab, I know it was like a Thanksgiving, and I was supposed to go to lunch with my mom, and there was like a turkey bowl for our high school team in the mornings, and we all got hammered in the morning, and I like fell into a bush and scratched my face, had this like big scratch on my face, and then after the game, I was supposed to go meet my mom for lunch, and he had to wear like a suit and tie type shit, and I put that on like a scratch across my face, and I was so fucked up that I like passed out at the Thanksgiving table. Um, and I think that was like my junior or senior year of high school. Um, but then like I think I honestly uh I honestly just like started to avoid the holidays altogether, like kind of like a self protection type thing. Like, and I heard something in a meeting recently, like maybe a month ago. This guy was saying, "You are the story you tell yourself." And so early in recovery, honestly, up until this year, really, I would always be like, tell people like, "Oh, I don't do well on the holidays. Holidays are really triggering for me. All my holiday experiences have been bad." That's none of that's true. But that was a story that I continued to tell myself and live into, and that's
Mm.
something to be aware of. I think, especially going into this year, like my last two Thanksgivings and Christmases I've spent with friends, and they've been really good and really wonderful. But I would love to get to a point where I can spend it with family again.
I mean, I think it's first of all, like I think it's I mean, it's crazy, but it's also potentially helpful for both of us, like that we have polar opposite almost experiences like with the holidays in terms of like where we're surrounded by like I got my between my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family, I got dozens and dozens of extended and distant relatives like that I'm always involved with and hanging out with during the holidays. Um, just to hear your story, like, and to hear your experience, it almost like, I mean, to me, like, it kind of just put me in my place right now, right? Like, I'm sitting here complaining about, like, fuck, like, I got to see all this family, and it's just like, it's overwhelming. It's like, well, there's some individuals, like, who are hoping to one day get to the point where they can spend fucking Christmas with their family or whatever holiday. And, I think, I, th- I think it's exactly what you said, right? And what you heard in your meeting. It's like we are the story we tell ourselves, and we kind of define that narrative in our own head. Um, you know, I I can't discount like that there was a lot of negativity around the holidays, like in the past, and certainly a little bit of trauma that I caused or that I was played a part in. But it doesn't have to be like that just because it used to be like that. That's it's like the same thing with every other aspect of recovery. It's like we don't get sober and then just keep everything static. We get sober, that's where the real work begins. Like after we put the drugs and alcohol down, like okay, like that's where we start to, do the work in ourselves so that eventually we can start to kind of mend you know, those burned bridges with family members. We can start to rewrite the story of our like experience at family gatherings or seeing different family members or whatever it may be. And I think one of the things like that still gets me tripped up is like I did, you know, I, it was almost like I kept my I kept my addict kind of behavior over in like this area, and then there was like my public persona, and the way that I had, and that I had created as an external image for people to perceive me as, like friends, family, in school, in sports or whatever. Like there was like the inside, which was this addict, and I was full of self-hate and self-righteousness and just hate, like hated existing in my own skin. And then there was like, all right, I'm going to put out, an image of what I am. And I think what happens in the holidays, right, is when I was in active addiction, like those two selves, like the wall that separates them got really thin. Like it got because all of a sudden I have to put that fucking image out 24/7, like for a little while. Even if it's only for a day. Like You can ask anybody like me, an isolation artist, a person who did a lot of their fucking using alone and in general spent a lot of time alone. Putting me in a room with 15 family members for 12 hours, like that wall between, I'm putting out this like happy-go-lucky, I'm an athlete and I'm a student and I'm just kind of goofy and happy to be here versus like I hate everything and I want to numb the pain. I can't like and the self-hate in the holidays is crazy for me, dude,
Yeah.
because I used to sit there and be like, why can't I be happy? Like I used to sit, in whatever party or just, and everybody, just seeing everybody around me laughing and hugging and just smiling and looking. And again, like these are people who have probably had their own internal shit going on, and that's something I didn't know. But just sitting there and knowing in my heart like that I was unhappy, like it becomes so clear
Yeah.
to me. You know what I mean? Like when I see other people living a certain way and seemingly happy and enjoying company, like it made all of these things that I thought were wrong with me like just glaringly clear. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. It's like the even I know I personally, and I would imagine you can relate to this. I've been really working on it this last year, but just have such an attachment to pain.
Mm.
And so like even when I got sober and stuff like that, I was still telling myself that story that, Christmas is gonna suck, Thanksgiving's gonna suck, New Year's is gonna suck. And I think my 2020 Christmas, like right before COVID hit and everything, I uh didn't go or I went and had Thanksgiving with one of my boys, Dan, and my mom. We just met and had dinner, which was nice. And then for Christmas, I was a writing major at Denison, and so for my senior project, I wrote on this. I wrote like a memoir on my recovery actually, but one of the chapters was like this one specific Christmas because like I was mad. My mom and I were kind of on rocky place, and like to be honest, I'm so happy and grateful because my mom and I are probably in the best spot that we've been in a long time, which is wonderful. And she's my mother, and I love her very much. And her and I have gone through a lot together, just based off the fact that, you know, it's just her and I. So like, there's no one else that can take any of the heat or anything like that. But we're working on it, and that's uh, very. I'm very hopeful on that. But this Christmas, like I was tweaked out, didn't really want to go back. And I wrote this story how like I could have gone home earlier. It was Christmas Eve and I was at Denison. That whole year I applied to stay over the breaks instead of go home. My mom lived in like 45 minutes away. And I was like, I'm not gonna go back. And she was like, oh, I'd love it if you would come be here for Christmas. And so like I made up I think a bunch of reasons why I couldn't go back leading up to Christmas Day. So then here comes Christmas Eve and it's getting later and later and later. And she's like, did you leave yet? And I was like, no. Did you leave yet? No. So I ended up leaving like Christmas Eve, like 10 o'clock at night, 2 hour drive or whatever. No, I think I left way later. Yeah, I left like 3 in the morning actually, because I got there Christmas Day and I went to a CVS to get her all these presents, which I hadn't done in a couple years. And I was like, I got to get her something. So I go into this CVS at like 5:30 in the morning on Christmas Day, and was looking for stuff, and I got her a couple of things and a card, and I got these I got these fucking White Castle burgers that you can buy. So I drive to the house. My mom's asleep. Like I sneak into the house like Christmas morning, and I put her bag out that I got her with like some of the presents and a card and all this stuff, and was really looking forward to her opening that. And then I made fucking White Castle burgers for Christmas breakfast at like 6 in the morning in the microwave, and I like wrote about how like it was tripping me out. And then I go up to my room and go to sleep. Wake up a couple hours later and come down, and I'm like excited for her to open it. And we open the presents and stuff, and I was so excited, and I was like genuinely excited for Christmas for the first time in a long time. And we sat down, and she opened her presents. She like loved it, and then she said, "I didn't get you anything this year." And I think like for a long time, bro, I like attributed presents and material things and stuff like that. And I was like, I was prepared to just get a card, and it fucked me up. Like that shit really floored me, bro. Like it wasn't a resentment thing. It was just like for a long time, my mom and I had a lot of like uh back and forth type of energy in terms of like I'll do this for you, you do this for me, to an extent. And I couldn't even really trip out because I got everything for her like a couple hours prior, right? But she didn't know that, and she's gonna know it now. So, mom, I'll talk to you about this on the phone later. But and I love you. This is not meant to be bad or anything like that. I'm not trying to cast a bad shadow on it. It was just like, and that was like the first time ever that she didn't get me something, right? Like she had got me something forever, and it was like one of the few times I got her something. So don't get it twisted that it was like this big thing, but it was kind of like an experience for me where uh I was able I went to a spot where I was like, see, even when you do something, it doesn't go well, and it just continued that narrative to me. And I failed to look at all the other things that were good about that day. And then I left.
Mm.
And like I wasn't really even working a recovery and stuff like that. And it was just like things like that I would hold on to for years to come as a crux. And I think that's something that a lot of addicts and alcoholics do. Like we can hold on to certain stories and certain experiences, especially around holidays, and be like, yeah, I fucking hate Thanksgiving. Yeah, I fucking
Mm.
hate Christmas. um and yeah.
I mean, when I hear you say that, right? Like, and I mean, I think you know this, right? You've probably gone through some of the work here, like analyzing that whole situation. But like and I do this as well, but it's like it's crazy how much we oversimplify things, right? Like, oh, like what you said is like, oh, Mitch, talking to yourself, you see what happens when you try to do something nice, like.
Yeah.
You didn't you showed up at 5 in the morning. Like, like you left at 3 a.m. Like she didn't
Yep.
even know if you were coming.
Yep.
Like,
100%.
and did you want to go? I mean, almost certainly not. Like
Yep.
if you left at 3, and I don't know the story fully. I don't know the emotions behind it, but like I can see it in my own self too, in my own kind of traumas with the holidays as well. As it's just like we oversimplify things, right? And then we let that like narrative control all of our attitude about everything going forward.
Yeah.
Um, I remember for me, like, you know, again, it's like those walls, right? Those walls get really fucking thin because people are around and you can only hide so much unless you just retreat, like, and go away. And I remember during school and even living at home, like I didn't want to go. I would be like, I don't want to go home for the holidays, really. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait as late as possible. I'm gonna be the last person off of this campus, and I'm gonna be the first person back. And when I was living in Nantucket, it was like the same thing. It was like, all right, I'm gonna come back like the day before Christmas Eve, and I'm leaving the 26th.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to hear nothing about nothing, and I'm just doing my duty, and I'm out. And it's wild, like. Number one, I remember my brother, I had a crazy habit of like, I don't know why, like like, well, I do know why. It's because I'm an addict and a psychopath, and when and when I get fixated on drugs, right? I'm fixated, man. It's OCD. Like I cannot stop like f focusing on, all right, how many do I have, whatever. And I had just gotten a bag, of Xanax, a whole bunch of pills, and I had this habit of at Denison at least of dumping them on my bed or on a desk or somewhere and like counting them out in fives, making sure they're all there, like making sure none of them are chalky, whatever, the whole fucking
Making a
thing.
list and
Like
checking
just
it twice,
it's
like
literally,
Santa.
and um it didn't matter that I was home and that there was like 10 people in this house. Like I had to do it. I was like, I got to check and see how many I have and dose them out and the whole thing. And my mind's going crazy and all this like happiness and joy is going downstairs. And I'm like, I got to check my pills. And it's just like, I came upstairs and I think my brother could tell something was wrong because he kind of followed me upstairs. And like, I just remember like purposefully getting into like a verbal argument with him. Like, so that he'd leave.
Mm,
Like actually like with the intent, like speaking to him with the intent of being disrespectful and like pushing my brother away so that what? So that I could open the fucking drawer and count my pills. Like and it was behaviors like that defined the holidays for me. I remember too, like living in Nantucket, I was supposed to go um home for Easter, right? It's not Easter season or whatever, but it's a holiday and my family was going to be there. My brother was going to fly in. He missed his flight. Thomas, you know why you missed your flight. I don't need to bring it up here. Um, yeah, it's actually funny. It's actually incredibly ironic because he missed his flight because he was insanely hungover.
mm,
And so the microscope was off me for a minute because it was
yeah.
like, oh my God, Thomas missed his flight home for Easter. Like, is he, all this nonsense, um, and concern about him. Meanwhile, I'm on Nantucket, and um, one of my buddies like tested positive for coronavirus. And, one of my housemates there. And we didn't really practice the best hygiene in the house. So very soon, every single one of us tested positive for COVID. Um, and like this is how sick my mind was. Like at the time, like I'm thinking my brother is flying home for Easter. I haven't seen him in months. I'm gonna see my aunt, and I'm gonna see my mother and my father who I haven't seen in months, and just get to spend like healthy time with the family. And, you know, I got COVID and I was like, yes, like, thank God. Like, thank God. Like, I mean, I got COVID. I was like, all right. Well, at the time, it was like you get 2 weeks off. You can't touch 14 days. Like, you can't go and do it. You can't see anyone. Like, and
Perfect.
I was like, this is perfect. 14 days. Like nobody could, I can't go anywhere. I can't go to work. I can't go home. Like this is a godsend. And while I look back on it now, like I'm kind of joking about it, but I have a lot of shame. Like it's shameful to me. Like, damn, like did I really sit there and like start clapping my hands and cheering that I tested positive for COVID? Like, and that I couldn't go home and see my family? Like, it's sad, and it's also it kind of reveals to me like how different of a headspace I was in. How fucked up my priorities were. Like my priority was like, oh, use find as much time to use as possible. And spending time with my family in the holidays did not align with that.
Yeah, well, it's
But
like that. It's like that fucking just this isolation thing, bro. Like the the isolation is nuts. Like I need to like I have things that I need to do. Like I totally relate to you when you're talking about having to organize your shit, and it was like
Mm.
I need to and organize it by yourself. Like I had such a need to like this is my thing that I have to do. And if you get in my way, like you're gonna get out of the way. Like, I have to do it. And I really, really, really have to do it during the holidays because, I don't do well with holidays. So
Hmm.
I really need to do it right now. And like um going home and like where I grew up in Baltimore, like everything was accessible in terms of like drugs, alcohol, and avoidances. And I think that it's like what like if we really like what are the holidays? The holidays are a direct confrontation to what an addict struggles with the most. Like if you're an addict or an alcoholic, you've probably struggled a lot with your family and friends. You've probably struggled a lot with feeling good and happy. And when it comes to like being like all together and enjoying each other's company and whatever, like if you have issues with someone in the family, you don't want to be there. Like, and you also there I think there's a piece of it too that you don't really want to show everyone, like you were saying, like you don't want to show them that side of you to an extent. I know for a long time a big part of me knew that I had an issue, but an even bigger part of me knew that I needed to hide it. And like I got really good at hiding it. Like I was quote unquote fully functioning out of my mind, like full conversations and everything, and I thought I was killing it. Nobody knows. And a lot of those like the together I just had such I think even now like I look forward to being a father and having a big family. Like you were saying, like I feel like a lot of the holidays were a direct reminder that my family's not like yours, and that I don't have brothers and I don't have sisters and I don't have a dad. And I was like, fuck all that, because
Mm.
those days highlighted that more than a Monday, right? And I think that for me, that was like just the driving force. And I think the urge to drink on there, and like I was in rehab 2016 on Thanksgiving. Like I spent that Thanksgiving in rehab, and that was one of my best fucking Thanksgivings I've ever had. Like I ate good. The food was fucking unreal. Everybody in there was vibed out. But it's like uh I know what I'm trying to say, but I'm trying to get to it. Like I think the uh I don't know, you might have to help me here. Like what do you think why do you think there's such why do you think there's so many
Mm.
relapses and spikes in usage around holidays?
Well, because it's exactly what you said. Like the holidays is in direct rebellion to our active addiction. Like the two do not mesh. Like
Yeah.
it's like what I was saying too. It's like the walls are thin on the holidays. Even now, like for me now, like addiction is all about isolating. Like the opposite of addiction is connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like and when we've been through situations, although like as we've talked about, like we shouldn't fixate on them and we shouldn't allow them to rule our holidays and our family relationships going forward. Like whatever way we spin it going forward, like this shit was traumatic for us and for others in the past. Like and that has an effect on us now. Um and remembering that like brings up a lot of negative feelings. It just does. Like, and they're really fucking intense because this like the difference between like say like normal morale for like a group of people is like right here, right? And then during the holidays it's like up here. Like we're all partying and we're all celebrating and we're all just happy go lucky, you know. But I still feel other, even like now. Like, and this kind of gets into, another thing we wanted to
Mm.
cover, which was boundaries. Like, I feel fucking other on Christmas and Thanksgiving because and other holidays because like I don't my memories are different my memories are of like panicking. Do I have enough Xanax to get through this Christmas Eve service?
Yeah. It's like
Like not
self-perpetuating though too, you know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
It's like
And
the yeah.
I mean, like I don't want to carry that with me, but it's hard for me not to unless I start making new memories. And I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
people relapse like, and again, I don't know, like I'm not inside of these people's heads, like, but I think people relapse because they can't fucking get over it.
It's too much.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, and my shit has changed a little bit, but the end of the day, like I still need to set fucking boundaries about what I can and what I can't do on these holidays.
Mm.
Like, I don't know what they got out there. I'm sure it's similar, but like, I would hear like for 24 hours during Thanksgiving and for
Yep.
24 hours during Christmas and for 24 hours during New Year's, there's fucking alkathons.
Mm-hmm.
Like because the AA program knows like people are vulnerable right now.
The
Like
most. Yep. I
not only that, it's like physically just a physical fact. Like there's more alcohol consumption.
was gonna say those are drinking events. Yeah.
Exactly.
The New
Exactly.
Year's, the New Year's one is huge too. Like the boundaries thing is massive, and like I feel like that was so smart of you to bring up when we were talking about this episode a little bit ago, when we were just talking about what we were going to speak on, because the boundaries thing is huge. I know boundaries got nailed into me early when I was in rehab. We had to do like a boundaries worksheet, and like for me, it was like I couldn't go to a bar for the whole first year out. I couldn't go to a party or a bar. I couldn't do any of that. And the holidays, I remember my mom asked me, I think like my first Christmas back, uh, my second Christmas back, we went to Christmas dinner somewhere. She asked if she could get a glass of wine. And I think I said yes, but I think I should have said no because like I was staring at that glass of wine, bro. But boundaries are a learned thing too. It's like, you know what I heard about boundaries that I have nailed down, thankfully, is that my personal boundary is if I'm ever in a spot, whether it's like a bar, a party, uh, a holiday event, and I hear that first voice that looks at a drink and says, "That looks good." The
Mm,
first voice, the first time I hear it, because I know you know what I mean when you talk about that voice, I leave,
mm,
and I've held myself to that like I've probably held myself to that more than anything. And we've talked a lot about how have I stayed sober. That is how I've stayed sober, really. Is that first time I hear it, I leave. And not I didn't always do proactive things off leaving, like call a sponsor or tell someone that, which I do now. But that was my bottom line for me. And that's how I stayed sober going to parties at Denison. Cause like I would like DJ parties with Stevo actually. And like sometimes people would be like, "Oh, you just disappeared." And because there's those Sunny's parties, bro, it'd be
mm-hmm,
alcohol everywhere, on the counter, everywhere. And if I started thinking about like that looks fucking fun, like maybe I could have a sip, I would go to my room and lock the door.
mm,
So like that's one of the boundaries, but I think the other one that I've done, and I'm a little bit ashamed of it, is that I haven't spent a holiday with my family in like 3 years. I haven't. The last one that I was with family was that 2020 Christmas. So I guess that's 2 years. Yeah, 3 years would be this year. This Christmas will be three. Um, and that was a boundary that I needed, I think, just for me, like the place of growth that I've been at. But where I'm at now is like I would love to actually be spend this Christmas with my grandmother and my mother and my cousins. But like given work and jobs and stuff, it doesn't look like it's gonna happen. But that's a different perspective than the last couple of years when I was like, hell no, I can't do it. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Which is growth, but the boundaries are always moving. But what
Yeah,
type
they
of boundaries
change,
do you
man.
use? Yeah,
They change. Like I think I got a few, right? Like I mean, I think we're similar, right? In that the whole first year, I didn't want to go. I didn't want anything to do with a bar. Um, I think I've said this before on the podcast. I've said this to you certainly before, but like, listen, you go to a barber shop long enough, you're gonna get a goddamn haircut.
yeah,
Like, and that's kind of my opinion on hanging around in a bar long enough. Um, Something's gonna go south. But like that's something that's changed. It's just and it's come from it, like you said with that little voice that because I know that voice like I know it, and it it's kind of it's I mean it's really sneaky because sometimes it happens really quickly and sometimes it happens it takes a long time for it to poke its ugly head out and
uh-huh.
say hey like that doesn't look too bad. um
Yes, it
but
does.
it's about being honest with myself like and being okay with myself where I'm at. Like if I can't, and I'm not my experience again, it's not the same as yours. Like I haven't, it's you have a different family dynamic than mine. Um, Pure and simple. But there are things that I can't do. There are family gatherings that I'm just like it's not good for me.
Yeah,
Like it's a space, and that's a tough thing, right? Because you got family who come at us like and this is my experience, but they come at us and they're like, they feel if they don't understand it, they feel personally slighted.
yeah, yeah.
They're like, why, what? You think you're fucking better than me because you don't drink and you're not going to come around because we're having some beers and watching football or what? Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to be around me when I'm rolling a fucking blunt up and, and what? You're high, Mr. High and Mighty. You're going to go to one of your meetings or like how dare you disrespect the family and you change so all this shit, right? And
Yeah.
it's just so it couldn't be further from the truth. Like it's almost like, listen, I got to make a small sacrifice of not coming to this thing or not being present at this function or gathering or dinner or party or whatever it is because I want to be available emotionally and physically for you for years to come. And I
Mm.
will not be. Like if I do shit like this,
Yeah.
because my default is to be a complete fucking space cadet, drug addict. Like and be absolutely incommunicado. Like I'm not talking to any of you. I'm out. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to support any of you. Like I don't want to talk to you on the phone. Like
Mm.
that's my default. That's I mean, and that's I hate hearing that out of my own mouth, but like that's the way that I lived, like pure and simple. And this new me or whatever, it not I kind of don't like saying that either, but this new like engagement that I have in family, matters and being around and in communication with cousins and aunts and uncles and everything else, like I can't like there's a reason that I'm able to do that. And the reason is that I skipped the family party to go to a fucking AA meeting. Like it's not because I'm just like a new man. Like I didn't get sober and boom, everything switched. No, like I have to make sacrifices every day. Like every time I make a decision now, like the thing in my head has got to be, and it's not perfect. It's not always like this. A lot of the times I ignore this kind of step of decision making. But what it should
Yeah.
be for me is, how is this going to serve or damage my recovery? And unfortunately, a lot of this holiday shit is damaging to my recovery. Like, and can I reach a place of strength, like with the help of the program, with the help of meetings, by talking to you, by talking to other alcoholics, where I can go and be in an uncomfortable position because I know it means a lot to my mother or to my father or to my brother. Yeah, I could do that, but I can only do that with the strength of this fucking program behind
Yeah.
me, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree. And it grows too, right? Like for sure. It definitely grows and gets stronger. And like maybe next time you can do it, and maybe next time
Mm.
you can't do it, and maybe next time you can. Like it's just kind of like something that you only you would know, right? And I think that I've been extremely blessed to have like probably the most supportive friends on the planet, at least in my perspective, and their families as well. You know, have been welcoming, and I've spent Christmases and holidays with families. You know, one of my best friends, Grant, his family is who I lived with in San Diego in 2020, and I've spent the last couple holidays with them, and they've been amazing, and I can't thank them enough for that. You know, that I see them as family at this point. But it is, I do feel bad because you know I don't want to. I want to be spending that. I want to spend it with my mom. I want to spend it with my family. Um, and I want to think about it. I want to be like, oh, I can't wait for Christmas, you know. And I hope I get to a point where that's a feeling in me, and I think I am getting very, I'm getting closer to that. But uh, I just wanted to emphasize that a lot of it, I feel like a lot of it, when it comes to like all of our, I'm starting to figure this out recently, really. A lot of our like trauma and memories and resentments, we had a big part in.
Mm.
At least for me, bro. Like a lot of things that I used to carry on my shoulder as a chip or carry on my shoulder and be like, fuck that person, fuck that situation, fuck that holiday, fuck that. That was me.
Mm-hmm.
That was that was me. And like that's been a real crazy realization. I mean, it kind of has been tripping me out in the last like couple months figuring that out because it was like I didn't really get hurt like that. Or I didn't really like, you know, seeing your part in things is really wild.
Because
And it
all of a
really helps.
sudden it's like
Yeah, well, it really helps alleviate it too, to be honest. It really does.
all this, it's a little scary too, though, man. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh damn, like
What am I gonna be angry about? Where's my motivation gonna come from?
it's like you said, carrying the pain earlier. You're talking about carrying the pain. Like pain was like my most powerful tool.
Motivator, bro, for
It
real.
was a motivator, but not only that, like it was a reason to not be engaged,
Mm,
like with the
for sure.
family, or a reason to disconnect. Like I'm in pain, man. I I need to get high. Like I need to be away from this shit. Like even in sobriety, it's like I'm in pain. Like I don't want to spend time like, but what's the cause of that pain? Oh, they are. What happened with them? Well, we got in, this
Well,
argument or whatever. Oh, who caught, you go down the line, it's like, oh, you cause yourself pain.
yeah, everything
Like
starts
that's
to
how it
really.
always ends for me.
Yep.
And when it
Yeah,
gets there, it's like I said, it's a little scary because all of a sudden it's like, all right, it's just me.
yeah.
Like, why can't I? Why do I feel like I can't, you know, go to this family party because of the way that I was treated by these people or whatever before? Well, actually, every little all that shit that I think is like, how dare they or that they've done to me, like it was me doing it to myself. And the crazy thing too is we'll take like I've taken the littlest interaction or the littlest just like kind of off-putting exchange, and over the years it fucking grows to this giant like,
Oh,
oh, we were yelling at each other, and like and that's just in my
yeah.
head, and none of it's true. Like, it's all fabricated by my own sick brain because my brain wants me to fucking say, I'm not hanging out with these people. I don't want to be happy with them. Like being happy too. It's just like, why do I like I'd rather sit in misery than
Yeah.
than you know.
No, that's what I remembered I was gonna say is that all those holidays and shit like that growing up were great, bro. I like when I really think about it, when I was a little kid, I had like the dopest Christmas and Thanksgiving and like whatever. And then as I got older, I like literally forced myself to flip that because that didn't fit my narrative. That didn't fit my trauma upbringing. You feel me? And like I had to flip it. I had to
Hmm.
because that was my identity. And it's like not only did I have to flip it, now I need to make sure that these Christmases are fucked too. Like, because now we're stacking, right?
Yep.
You know, if I got a bunch to point at, then they'll really believe me. And it's like, I failed. I was so focused outwardly on other families and shit like that, that I didn't even really appreciate to a certain extent what I had at my own house. You know, my mom loves me more than anything, bro. And I've come to like truly understand that and believe that. And I didn't want to focus on that. I wanted to focus on that family and that family and that family and what kind of car they had and like what, you know, all that other dumb shit. So
Oh yeah.
it's
We
a trip.
focus on what we don't have, right? We focus on what we don't have rather than like feeling blessed and grateful for what we do have, man. That's what we do.
I'm grateful now. Hopefully it's not too late.
I don't think it's too late, man. I think the other thing we do is we underestimate the compassion of others.
Definitely.
You know what I
That's definitely
mean?
true. That's definitely
Like
true.
people forgive, man. And that's you know, finding that space for myself too is like you ever find like people forgiving you, right? And forgiving you and trying to move on and like you can't fucking forgive yourself.
Mm.
And so you continue to hold on to that like oh like they're moved past it. Like they're on to the next page. Like we rebuilt the bridge and everything's all right. Like you know, but I'm still stuck on like I fucked this person over. Like they're never gonna, you know, we're never gonna be able to get over it, be friends again or whatever. And they're sitting there like, listen, man, I don't know what you're talking about. I forgave you for that like 3 days after it happened.
We're obsessed, bro.
Yeah.
That's why we have, you know, we have a little thing called inventories because we have to fucking literally write it all out, read it with our
Hmm.
sponsor, and try to release it that way. And even then, I've done resentments where it comes back. So it's like a consistent thing that we have to stay on top of and work on. But it's because we we're not done till we're done. You know
Mm.
what I mean? We get the final say type shit. But we're working on eliminating that. But
I'll never be done, bro. At this rate. Oh
doesn't look
man.
like it.
I mean, you know, in closing, I guess, man, like all I want to say is like for anyone listening out there in early recovery, stay close like this next month. Like this next month is a motherfucker. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
takes people out and people don't even know what like that the craving is there and the next thing you know they're, you know, in the liquor store. Like that's what this month will do like and for you and me, man, like you know, I'm gonna be calling you nonstop. Like because that's what I'm gonna need. Like, what am I gonna need? I might need a meeting on Christmas Day, and thank God that AA has meetings
Yeah.
set up on Christmas Day. Like, so I could maybe clear some of the cobwebs out. Like, family is important. How, you know, spending time, quality time is important, but I gotta remember what got me there. What got me there is being in AA, you know, in whatever program of recovery you choose, but like for me it's time to double down a little bit
Yeah.
because that's the only way that I'm going to be emotionally available or available at all, you know, for my family for the next month.
Yeah.
Um,
Reach
so
out.
stay
Don't keep it to
close.
yourself, bro. That's to everyone, you know. Don't keep it to yourself because that's how that voice gets stronger, at least from my experience.
Mm, mm.
Truly. I think there's a lot of love on the holidays too. That if we just let ourselves be open to receiving that, that's a wonderful thing. Truly a wonderful thing. It's like indescribable. Um, so it doesn't have to be like, you know, bow humbug. You don't have to be the Grinch on top of your mountain. You know what I mean? Which is one of my favorite Christmas movies, by the way.
Which one?
The Grinch.
But which one?
Oh, the OG with like who
Without not the
plays him?
Johnny Depp version, right?
Is that Johnny Depp
Yeah, that's Johnny Depp. In like
in the big
the one
suit
that's like live action with like
with
real actors.
the dog? Yeah, and where are you, Christmas? That
Yeah,
one.
yeah, that's Johnny like
I don't
with
think that's
real
Johnny Depp.
people in it.
I don't
That's
think
Johnny
that's.
Depp.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it's Johnny Depp, bro. Who else? Come on. Who else you think could make those fucking facial
I think it's
expressions?
I don't think it might be.
Bro,
That's my favorite one though.
that's Johnny, bro.
No way, that's Johnny Depp, bro. I think
Hold
that's
on.
that one other dude. I'm blanking on his
That's
name.
John. No, it's Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. Yeah, 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 yeah,
I'm
yeah.
stupid, bro.
Pirates of the Caribbean, bro.
I'll be thinking it's like
Jim Carrey. Yeah,
Pirates
yeah,
of the
yeah.
Caribbean. Anyway, you're a psychopath for liking
Yeah.
that one more than the animated one.
No, I don't like animated stuff.
The OG one is unreal.
Mm.
It's way better. Sorry, we're a
Oh,
little off
yeah.
track.
Yeah. That was good go. The holidays are, if you look at statistics, the highest increase in relapses and inpatient patients is Christmas.
Mm. It's a tough time of the year, right? Like we want to celebrate or we want to get rid of the feelings we have, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, looking forward a little bit. I think we have some cool guests in the pipeline. Um, I think maybe taking a couple weeks, and then getting back into the guest cycle. I think it could be pretty sweet. I'm pretty impressed with some of the potential guests that you've been talking to. But that could be fucking banger. So,
Yeah. I think we got a bunch of potential guests that could come on that could be fucking sick. And I'm trying to get us more engaged with like there's a lot of other recovery podcasts and shit. And I would love to like start teaming up with them and stuff like that. See what we could do. Start building
mm-hmm,
that community out a little bit. But
mm-hmm.
thank you for doing this one with me. That was a good one.
Yeah, dude. Holidays are tough. I know it's helped me just talking through it a little bit, and if that's all that comes out of this, that's all right with me.
Yeah, amen to that.
All right, bro. Appreciate you.
All right, appreciate you too. All right, and everyone that's listening, thank you so much. We are at 72 subscribers now, so we moved quickly past that one number. And so who's going to be 73? All right,
Lucky number 73.
keep
Big
coming back.
prize with it.
Keep coming back. Love you,
I'll
bro.
keep coming.